It's time once again for another episode of Georgia Business Radio. Broadcasting live from the Pro Business Channel studios in Atlanta. And now here's your host, Rich Casanova.
All right, we're all set for another exciting episode here. Rich Casanova in our Pro Business Channel studios alongside Michael Moore. Michael, great day. Are we going to have a great show here today or what?
We have stacked up a great show tonight, getting ready for that super weekend we're having coming up in Atlanta. It's going to be kicked off by a real good taste of the NFL.
I hear you. All right, so with that being said, we're very excited. On this episode, we're going to be talking about the taste of NFL, and they're making a pit stop and a grand appearance here in Atlanta, in our hometown or home city, which happens to coincide. I don't know if it's a coincidence, but we are hosting the Super Bowl this year, right? Yes or yes?
Big ball game coming up that day. Yeah. Wayne, thanks for bringing the game.
It's coming to town. That's what I heard when I got off the plane. They said, "Did you know?" And I said, "I've heard."
Yeah. But the precursor is the taste of the NFL, which is your Jane.
Yeah, it's the premier. It's really the premier event of that weekend. So we always kind of say, come and enjoy the event. You're gonna be blown away by everything that we've got to offer. It's a full party, and by the way, there's a game the next day.
And the voice you're hearing is none other than, as we mentioned, the Taste of NFL. Joining us in the Pro Business Channel studios for this special episode is the founder of the Taste of the NFL, Wayne. And help me with your last name.
Kostroski.
That's what I was going to say. Kostroski.
That or Smith, and Kostroski rolls better.
So as we mentioned, Wayne, we're excited to have you here in Atlanta, and you just flew in from Minneapolis a few hours ago.
Yeah, I thought I'd come down and warm up a little bit. People down here in Atlanta are telling me that it's cold, and then I just kind of say I'm from Minnesota, and then they give me this sad face, and they go, "Aw, nice to have you here."
Yeah, you're not believing our weather down here, right?
No.
All right, so let's talk a little bit before we jump into the event, but actually right at the top of the show, for those people that are tuning in are aware of this, so let's give a call to action right at the top and let them know about the event. So this is happening this year. It's this Saturday, February 2nd, 2019 at the Cobb Galleria right here in Atlanta, and guest tickets are available for the event. They're on sale, and just go to, really easy, tasteofthenfl.com.
That's perfect. Yeah, there are still tickets available. It's always a sellout, but they're, once the teams are announced, we hold back tickets because some folks come from those other cities, and Atlanta hopes they're coming, and then spend some money down here. But there are tickets available. Just tasteofthenfl.com is the easiest way to get all the information and see what we got going on too.
Great website, great lineup, and boy, I tell you, do not miss your ticket because they could sell out before you get yours.
Could be, but part of it is. Look, Atlanta is a great culinary city. I've been in the restaurant business up in Minnesota for almost 40 years, so I know chefs around the country, and I know the culinary scenes, etc. Atlanta is really a terrific city. So my point is, where else are you going to eat on Saturday, February 2nd? Find a better restaurant than 35 of the best restaurants in the country and their chefs. I mean, good luck.
Yeah, we're talking celebrity chefs, NFL players. We're going to drop in some names here in a minute. Before we do that, so let's rewind for a minute. Your background and the story of this event, how it's evolved over the years. So it's a mainstay, the eve of the Super Bowl since 1992, going back to that year, right? It's a fundraising event. For those who are not familiar, as you mentioned, it pairs celebrity chefs and football greats representing each NFL team, which is interesting because we're hosting the city, the party's here, but you have representation. We're going to talk about people able to donate and contribute to the cause regardless of their team.
Yeah, the one way to participate is certainly be there.
Right.
Buy tickets, buy your, you owe your best friend something, your business associates, your best clients. Seriously, we get a lot of people saying, not everybody's going to the Super Bowl, and not everybody has a party planned. So, why not turn to your employees, your key producers, and say, look, we're going to treat you to this thing. You'll never forget it.
And you mentioned a good point, because if you're not going to the game, you're going to a Super Bowl party somewhere, right? A house party or somewhere. And this is not happening the day of the Super Bowl. It's the night before.
I would challenge anybody to have better chefs at their house on this one. But that's just me. I'm a little biased, but it's true.
Could we maybe take some leftovers to our party the next day, maybe?
Well, I'll tell you where the back door is. Pull up.
We never had this conversation, right?
No, we never did. This isn't real live, is it?
Right,
Okay.
exactly. So back to the task at hand. So we mentioned there's 35 plus food station. You've raised more than $25 million, and it's for hunger relief and also the homeless and since its inception, right?
Yeah, the mission statement is to raise awareness and dollars for hunger relief through special events, and this is the main thing we do. But I will say, years ago, I kind of stopped leading with how many dollars were raised because people gloss over. Now, $25 million to the food banks. is nothing to sneeze at. However, what's more important to me is, what does that mean? Well, that translates into over 200 million new meals. If we weren't doing this, that 200 million new meals in all these food banks across the country wouldn't be happening. So we're very proud of that.
And a lot of times companies step up and they'll match that, or, and the multiple effect of those dollars. It's amazing. We mentioned Kyle was here in the studio from the Atlanta Community Food Bank. It's amazing how they can stretch those dollars and how many meals they can deliver, right?
That's a great point, because I think here in Atlanta, Kyle's, for every $1, they can create 4 to 5 meals.
Yeah.
So literally $10 turns to 40 to 50 meals. Nationally, our average over all the food banks, when we take our dollars in particular for Kick Hunger Challenge as a whole, you can create 8 meals for every $1. So every city is a little bit different. But the fact is, these food banks are the unsung heroes in this country. There are 50 million people going to bed food insecure every single night in the United States. And you can throw these numbers around and, people listen, don't listen, politicians, whatever. But the fact is, think about that number. And 1 in 6 are kids, and 1 in 5 are seniors. So it's affecting all of us. I mean, we have kids and we have parents. And so the fact that our mission statement reads deliberately to raise awareness in dollars, because we create. Last year we had over 1.4 billion media impressions on Taste the NFL, the Kick Hunger Challenge, and the issue of hunger. I believe 100% in the business community and the citizens and whatever. You let them know there's a cause, and you let them know that by some small act they can affect someone else's life, they'll do it. That's all you got to do is let them know.
It's easy to take action on that. And if you extrapolate the numbers, that 25 million could represent, 100 million and a multiple of 4 easily would, right? Relative to food delivered. So, so since your inception, one of your statements is giving is good for business, right? We're on the Pro Business channel, right? And it's an excellent opportunity for companies here in Atlanta and beyond to step up between your silent auction or all the ways that funds are raised at the event, right?
Well, fortunately for me, I get asked to come and speak at different functions. And one of my favorite is on college campuses in their business programs. Because I'm an entrepreneur in the hospitality industry for many, many years. And really that message that is giving is good business means, one, you lead with your heart and you keep an eye out for, things that you can affect for your employees, for your guests and everything else. But really it translates into the fact that when people are making choices for your product or for the restaurant or something or other, and employees choosing to work for particular companies, it does matter to them what that company stands for. So my presentations to the colleges and business groups and chambers and that kind of stuff is I kind of lay out some pretty simple things in about 20 minutes that say, look, here's a cause and effect, and here's that something that can help you improve your business, but while you're doing something really good. If you're doing it genuinely, people will understand.
Speaking of the younger generation, a lot of times they get maligned or whatever in the media and the press and the conversations. But one thing they have going for them is this innate sense of wanting to give back, right? And when they join an organization, they're looking for that culture and what the company represents, that brand, beyond just the paycheck, which is a different generation perspective, right?
You're absolutely right, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, particularly now with the challenge of, it's great to have low unemployment numbers, but as you keep going down, Minnesota just went under 3% on unemployment. And I still own a wholesale bakery, and so we're still hiring folks in other businesses, and we serve a lot of restaurants that buy our bread. That's also a challenge because you're exactly right. The pool is a little bit less, but they're looking for something more than, what am I getting paid? What are the benefits? Whatever. They want to know that they're working for an organization that means something in their life. And it doesn't have to be hunger, it can be anything. But you're absolutely right. I'm hearing that every single time I talk to business people. And I think the ones that hear that and genuinely understand that and move their business in that direction will be more successful.
And if I can quote you while you're sitting right here in the studio, which is a little bit odd, but I'm reading some notes here about and kudos and congratulations on your receiving the Hall of Fame award from the Minnesota Restaurant Association. We'll insert the applause later.
Right. Or the laugh track you got with it.
I know, right? But at that event, you made a really powerful statement talking about we are all fortunate to be so passionate about what we do every day. And you got to think beyond just we're all going to spend time at our work. Right? So speak to us about, in that acceptance speech, what you meant by that.
Oldest expression in the book, when you're doing something that you like, it's no longer work, it's fun. Well, that's exactly what I think folks should be looking for, is that you should be looking for doing something that means something to you, that you're good at, and that you can improve by your presence there. In my presentations, I talk about being an individual. It brings out the best in those around you. Well, I didn't write that. Don't remember who wrote it. Read it on a wall in a subway, probably. But it was, that's stuck with me a lot, is that if you have a passion and you have a drive and you latch your talent onto that, you're going to wake up every morning feeling pretty good. And more importantly, you'll be going to bed every night saying, that was a good day. I impacted some other people.
You're going to have a great night's rest, right?
You will.
So, Michael, you got a question here in a second. Before we do that, I just want to give one more plug and announcement. Again, you're listening to our conversation here with the founder and of the Taste of the NFL, Wayne Kostroski.
See?
All right, got it. And we're talking about everything happening with the Taste of the NFL, which they're here for Super Bowl Sunday for the Super Bowl. But the event is being held always the eve before the actual Super Bowl Sunday on Saturday, February 22nd, here at the Cobb Galleria. And again, you check out all the information. You have a powerful video on your website. Learn more about the mission of the organization, how they can contribute and donate and get tickets. That's all happening at just visit tasteofthenfl.com.
Well, just to mention, you mentioned Eve. It's right. Just like Christmas Eve, the most exciting part of Christmas, most of getting ready for the Super Bowl was getting ready. Yeah. So you do this on Super Bowl Eve. So what's the foundation, and how do you incorporate all these teams and all the different people that you get involved? I mean, you take advantage of putting every team on showcase. And every city on to showcase.
Well, I got into hunger relief in the mid '80s. That's a different story, but it's pretty cool. I got bit by the hunger, the hunger issue, because I'm in the hospitality restaurant business, so it's natural to me.
Is that one night you ran out of food and had to go home and eat?
No, I've never been hungry, but I actually did. Was sitting at a food bank, wondering I was going to create a jazz festival in the 1980s, right locally near one of my restaurants. Short story is, I went down the street. Someone said, well, you'll get more permits and move this thing quicker if you have a charity attached. So I walked into this food bank 2 blocks from the restaurant. And while I was there, this mother and 2 kids came in and talked to the director. She excused herself, gave her some bags of food and left. And I said, what just happened? And it was cooler story than that, but that's where I started. And then when, during the late 80s, I had a number of restaurants, and our chefs would get invited to go to other charitable events, hunger events around the country with Wolfgang Puck and Universal Studios and all that stuff. So I got to know all these other chefs. So I was asked to serve on the host committee in 1992 in Minnesota when Super Bowl host committee was coming in, and I chaired the restaurant committee. And we were looking in '92, like every day up there, we're looking for something to, have people feel warmer than they actually are when they come to town. That year we handed out scarves. I mean, so we knew the audience. But I knew all these other chefs. So I said, well, what if we brought a chef in from each of the NFL cities, and what if we paired them with a player? So the chef side was easy for me. Our founding chefs were like Bobby Flay and Tom Colicchio and Susan Spicer, and these now heavyweights, and they still are involved. Bobby's he was on the board for a long time. The player side, I only knew 2 professional football players, both alumni at the Vikings. Bob Lertzema, who is known as Benchwarmer Bob, because that's where he spent most of his career, but a great guy. And then Scott Studwell, who was a great Ring of Honor linebacker now. And I called them and I said, you don't really know me, I don't really know you, but here's the idea. And they said, if all the money's going to hunger relief and to food banks, we're in. 28 teams were in the Super Bowl, or in the NFL at that point. I made 28 calls. Honestly, they made 28 calls. The bottom line was the intent is what we take in, we'll give to the food banks. And to this day, our organization is a 501c3. but we don't have any employees. I mean, I'm not an employee. Nobody takes a salary. Nobody. I mean, it's all volunteer. And when you look around that night on February 2nd, I want to drift into that for a second to help answer your question. You can go to a lot. You've gone to a lot of events. Your listeners have gone to a lot of events. You've gone to a lot of business events. And if you have celebrities or famous people there, you generally get some opportunity for a photo op or talk to them for 2 minutes, and they'll sign autographs without looking at you in the eye. Every single player, every single chef, every single celebrity there is volunteering. There's no honorarium. There's no fee. They know that this is a pure event. And so you as a guest, the best thing we hear from sponsors and guests is to say, oh my gosh, this is the only event I've ever been to there where these celebrities and famous people want to be here and they want to talk to me. So I think they're not under contract to be there kind of thing. No, that's exactly right. And that's a big deal. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the reputation of this thing since 1992 has been out there to say, you got to go to this thing because it's the best thing on Super Bowl weekend, but also you go there and you're going to help feed people. The tipping point really came really early on when I realized the wives of the players love this event, because normally if they go somewhere for their athlete husband or something, the wives kind of just wait. Now they're saying, honey, you can stand here and sign autographs all you want. I'm going to go to these different food stations. And you can feel that in the air. So
it's a stroll about a great party. It's a stroll. It's a way to meet a lot of people that don't normally come to our city. So you're actually accommodating all the cities. So even if you're a fan of another team who's not in the Super Bowl and you're not an Atlanta fan, you've got plenty of hometown spirit.
Michael, you're right. The best thing about this event really is if you like good food, you're going to 40 of the best restaurants in the country. It's not just the 32. We have the Cake Boss there. We have the Perfect Season with Dick Anderson, the chef from Don Shula's. Next year in Miami, Don Shula is going to be our honorary chair for the third time in a row in Miami. This is the best restaurant in the country for one night. And it's not these chefs sending a few cooks or something. It's them. They are talking to you. And Gina Gallo's been on my board for many, many years, and Gallo's been a partner for 20-plus years. You've got their best wines there as well. Many of your listeners probably are not familiar with the Mary Tyler Moore Show, but it was based in Minnesota. And if you remember, anytime Mary Tyler Moore threw a party, it was crickets and it was a disaster and all stuff. This is not your Mary Tyler Moore party. This is a winner. This is a great. This is your generation influencer party or whatever.
Yes, the
exactly.
VIP. Well, you hit on something that's a little bit the obvious, but for the listeners, just kind of wrapping their mind around this, it's not just like an event where local restaurants in Atlanta, which are obviously participating, but they're coming in from all the other 32 or 31 franchise cities around the country, because a lot of people, I mean, the event, the Super Bowl as an event is just a grand week-long party. So all of these NFL players that have played on different teams over the years, the chefs that have the restaurants that are based in those cities where those fan base is at, so they come for one night out for this event. I don't know if you realize you're kind of onto a genius idea here, yeah.
I did. Some days I wonder. Well, about the food. So if you want to taste the very best crab dish ever, it's from Baltimore, and Chef Nancy Longo from Baltimore. If you want to have really great Southern Florida cuisine, Alan Susser is there. Seattle, John Howie puts out the best food in Seattle. So you're basically also seeing all the regions of the country and tasting the food from there. And no offense to Delta, but you're not getting on a plane to do it,
And we may have some Cajun cuisine here too, but yeah, I don't know.
There is.
Be very careful.
And it's very good. It's actually outstanding. The food.
Right, exactly. Thank you. Yeah.
And the people serving it. Fantastic. Yeah, there we go.
Good save. Good catch there.
And we're moving on.
Exactly. Yeah.
So one more time, they know exactly where to get the tickets, right?
tasteofthenfl.com. And, it put it right out there. The guest tickets, are $700. Now, some folks will go, ooh, $700. Check the pricing of these parties that are around in Super Bowl park.
That weekend, I think they've kind of gone out the roof.
I think one of the other major things about the success of this every single year is I take it from my restaurant industry. If you're in my restaurant, I don't want you looking at what it costs. I want you looking at and walking out saying that was the best value I ever had. So now you're going in and enjoying 40 different restaurants of your choice. You go check it out.
You're hobnobbing with the celebrities and the NFL
photo
players.
ops, you can get photos and autographs all night long.
And you mentioned a good point, because $700 right off the bat does sound a little pricey. But if you think about it, people are spending insane amount of money to stay just at someone's home, or the hotels. Everything is expensive that week. So that's a bargain if you think about it.
Well, and I like to take
it's a good cause.
I like to take it a step further, because we've got the 1-to-8 ratio.
Right.
Every $700 ticket can help create 5,600 new meals.
That's crazy.
If you bid on something in the auction and you bid $100,
right,
that's creating up to 800 meals just by your $100 bid. And here's the deal. That night, everything that you spend once you're inside that night, once you're in, you've got the food, the wine, whatever. So you don't, but we want you to take your wallet out, particularly if you're a guest of someone else, you haven't spent a dime. So we want you to put it out there. Everything that we've got offered, merchandise and auction that night, 100% of that goes to the donation pool.
Right.
So we've already taken care of the expense side of it. So that's the other thing, is that's what makes it great about the party, is that any dime you spend there that night and what you spent there is going to create meals.
No, it's phenomenal. And you mentioned about Susie. I think I saw on the site that's going to be like the diamond station to be at. Right?
Yeah, it's Continental necklace diamond. Yeah, diamond necklace. And the entertainment.
Let's drop a name there. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Getting ready. Mic drop. Name drop. We always close out the night with some name entertainment. In the past, we've had everybody from Brooks and Dunn to Styx to Third Eye Blind to Bare Naked Ladies, Michael McDonald, etc. Somebody. And this year we have Martina McBride, who we couldn't have been more fortunate given where we are. I mean, it's just, and she's loved down here, and she's a Grammy winner. I mean, she's it. The cool part about Martina, now this is the 28th year, she is the first entertainer to repeat. We've never had the same entertainment come back. But we were coming here and we did research here, and we knew that she is so loved in this part of the country. And really, this is every year it's geared to the host city. I mean, this is about Atlanta. We want to do our part, put as much spotlight and highlight on the community in which we're in. So that's part of the reason we went after Martina. She had a blast. Do you
remember the event? Where was she at?
It was our 20th anniversary, and it was in Dallas, or North Texas.
Yeah.
And she had a great time. One story about Little Big Town that was in Arizona a few years ago. All four of them they were going on at 9:30, but they were at 6:30. They were walking around saying hello to the chefs, getting autographs from the chefs, and they loved cooking, so they loved it. And then they walked on stage and said, "Oh yeah, we got to play some music." Yeah, by the way, Martina is just a gem. She's a great person, and we're looking forward to welcoming her to Atlanta.
Well, I mentioned before we went on the air, I was launched my radio career at a country music station in California. Used to play Martina all the time. I'm sure she'll remember me when she sees me.
I will make a point of asking her afterwards. I don't want her to stick around.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah. Once again, everything we're talking about here today, you can check out all the information, the videos, get your tickets, sponsorship opportunities, find out all the information. Just simply visit tasteofthenfl.com. All right, so in our last segment here, you dropped the name Martina McBride. I'm sure that'll draw just a fan base alone, right? I mean, to buy a ticket to her concert and be at an intimate kind of venue like that, right?
Well, you're going to pay three figures to go see a show in good seats. This is really, remember, you're only in a room with 2,200 people, and the stage is right there, so you get up close and personal. But the value of the ticket to come to this is something you.
I think you're over delivering here, yeah. But as you mentioned, giving is good for business.
Yeah, and then the other thing is that if you can't make it, if you're sitting there and you gotta, watch the dog that night on Saturday, or you don't want to get out or whatever, between now and 10 days after this event, go to kickhungerchallenge.com, and that's the best thing you can do if you're not going out that night, because 100% of what you donate under the team of your choice, 100% of that is an additional check that goes to the food bank that's designated by that team.
So even if you're home, you can support your team, you can support your local food bank, and you can participate in the process even if even if you don't have a ticket back to Atlanta, right?
Absolutely, and particularly here in Atlanta, Kevin Rathbun and Chris Draft have done a phenomenal job, and they're not done. If you go on their website, you'll see that they're in the lead right now, and I know Atlanta wants to win. It goes 10 days after the event, so into mid-February. So, but it's the simplest thing, Michael. For any reason, if you're not going to come to the event, check out kickhungerchallenge.com. And look, all the teams are listed there, and you'll see this competition that's going there as well. And by the way, we announced it at our Friday family gathering the day before the event. We announced who wins from the team standpoint, if you will, and the city team, whatever that wins, gets an extra $10,000 to the food bank. So Atlanta, if you finish first, let's say with $100,000. You're going to get the Atlanta Community Food Bank, Kyle's organization, is going to get $110,000. So there you go. Get in there.
Push it up.
Get in it.
As of this recording, we're looking at the stats right now, and you're already your target goal is $1 million. You're already almost a third of the way there, right? And you still got 10 days to the or 9 days to your event, right?
This weekend gets pretty competitive. So we'll see responses from New England. They're competitive.
Easy now.
Seattle. I mean, some of these other Cincinnati. Some of these cities are stepping it up now because they want to win that extra $10,000.
This is the chefs are the cheerleaders. They're bringing their best game. They're bringing their A game to the big A town.
By the way, cheerleaders, all night that night we'll have at least 40 Falcon alumni cheerleaders.
Hold on now. What did you say?
Do we have to start this thing over now?
Exactly.
Now we got Steve's attention.
Wayne, we got to talk about what you need to open with,
Okay,
right?
all right.
Cheerleaders and the giveaway for the tickets.
We always look for alumni cheerleaders because they are gregarious. And by the way, they sell. So we put them in places where things are for sale, and we're looking forward to them.
I'm looking at your scorecard for the Hunger Challenge. I'm not going to throw them under the bus, but I'm looking at the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not going to give you a number, but you need to step up your numbers out there, Dallas. Yeah,
I would think so. I think I would hope that Kent's feeling a little embarrassed by his brother's success here. But I mean, some of these and some of these peak up in these next weekend and early next week, and some of them don't really catch up too much. But that's the thing, is that if you're a fan of any particular team, call your friends and have them donate, because it goes to that community.
Speaking of your home state, the Vikings are doing really well. They're almost hit their target, and they've got plenty of time. And speaking of that,
we'll be there.
Oh, yeah. they better be, right? No pressure or whatever,
No
right?
pressure from me.
Speaking of the Vikings, we were talking about before we went on the air. We want to definitely save some time to talk about how can the business audience on the Pro Business Channel, the listeners, or the general public, how can they help in the cause beyond the event? Talk about a call to action, because what happens the other 364 days out of the year?
Well, the best thing they can do, you mentioned, consider buying some tickets, even if you're not going. If you're in a company,
donate them and maybe do a drawing at your company.
Key clients, kiss up. This is kiss up season, man. Right. But also Kick Hunger Challenge and encourage your employees. Maybe you say the company puts up the first $1,000 and the other employees try to match that. I mean, just that's great. And you select your own food bank. We're already working on Miami. As a matter of fact, there'll also be a Miami host committee station with a chef and Mark Duper representing.
Yeah, sure, positioning for the next year. And I was born in Miami, by the way. Yeah, so
they've been asking.
That doesn't really matter. It doesn't really mean anything. Yeah,
sounds like I'm going to spend the entire night, getting people to you. Right. This is all of a sudden about
Rich
you.
Casanova. Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
okay,
if possible. But I'll see you in Miami. Yeah.
But during the season, beginning in September, we start up the new Kick Hunger Challenge. But Kevin Rathbun has done a couple dinners here during the season to raise that money. He's going to look to do that again. We'll do some local dinners. So beginning of the NFL season, people can start. I mean, some of these restaurants in their local communities raise money for their own food banks. And so that's what it spawned as well. We just had a last week in Minnesota 10 years ago. I was fortunate enough
Last week or 10 years ago? Make up your mind.
Last week was 10 years ago that we started an all-day radiothon with one of the stations up in Minnesota. And in 10 years, we've raised for the Second Harvest Heartland in Minnesota, we've raised $2.5 million.
Wow.
And it's awareness. Again, it's just making people aware that the need is there. And if you've got a different cause, all we're trying to do is to remind you to act on your passion and your cause. If something else tragic happened in your life, or cancer, or whatever, then give to that. But we all should have something that means something to us and act on it. Period.
Gentlemen, great note to wrap things up on. Again, our pleasure having you here. And once again, get your tickets, get in line, and enjoy all of the festivity happening here in Atlanta, February 2nd. That's Saturday. It's always the eve of the Super Bowl Sunday. And once again, tasteofthenfl.com. Rich Casanova on behalf of Michael Moore. Stay tuned.
Thank you again for joining Rich Casanova and our guests on the Pro Business Channel. Use the social media links here to share today's show and stay tuned for the next episode of Georgia Business Radio.